this is a massive change. WordPress 5.0 is supposed to be dropping in, well, a week. It's not happening in a week, but all this that we're talking about, this is what's coming within the next month or so. So it's a good time to have this made up. All right, so let's see. So thanks to our sponsors, SpaceCubed, who provide this fantastic environment for us, and to WP Engine, who I've got hosts with them, fantastic WordPress hosting. Particularly if you're doing client stuff as well, they take a lot of the hard work out for you. So it's handy that they're a sponsor as well, because I like them.
Yeah.
All right. So
and they came just throwing this out there. They actually sent someone over from Brisbane to the first WordPress Meetup to make sure that everything ran okay. So I think, big shout out to them. They've been fantastic in getting us off the ground.
Yeah, I know. All right. So what is Gutenberg? So it replaces the WordPress editor. The one that we've been familiar with, the one that has been in place for the last 12 years, it's going away permanently. And this is not a opt-in thing. It's not like Jetpack where they put it on top. This is going to be rolled out in the core of WordPress. Everyone is going to have it. There is a way temporarily that you'll be able to bypass it. So there's a plugin that you can install called the Classic Editor. I'll show you that later in the demo. But without that, do not upgrade to WordPress 5.0 until you've tested your website. Back it up and put it onto a development host. Make sure that you've tested everything working perfectly before you roll it out onto your live sites that you like. So with WordPress, a lot of the times we have automatic updates, but they're only for I'm not sure if they're the minor or just the bug fix ones. So there's 3 numbers in every version. The last one is automatically updates. The middle one, I can't remember if it automatically updates, but when it gets to WordPress 5.0, you're not going to be automatically updated to that unless you've got some script running that for some reason updates it. But yeah, it's not going to be forced. I would, before it rolls out, I would make sure that I've installed the Classic Editor. Even if you don't activate it, just have it there. So peace of mind. So the good thing about this is that it is open source. So that means that we as the WordPress community are actually the ones doing the development. So I've got a couple of commits, the technical term for contributions, so official contributions to it. There's one particularly annoying one with the publish button in the current plugin. Fix that. So that's a good visible one. But because it's open source, if you have a problem with it, with the plugin, make sure you speak up, make sure you get involved in it. If you've got some design or development skills, even better. So the new concept that it brings in, instead of it just being basically a document like we've had forever, it's changing to a concept called blocks. So every paragraph is a block, every image, every embed, every form, everything becomes a block. And the best way to understand blocks is, I assume most people here are familiar with Facebook, and if not, then Twitter. On each of those status updates is a block. So you would have seen maybe on any news sites they embed a tweet. Well, that's because that tweet is a block, and so it can be referenced externally. There's a whole lot of things that can be done with that specific block. So instead of WordPress just being built on PHP with a bit of JavaScript thrown in, Gutenberg now moves to React, which is a type of JavaScript framework. If you're not a developer, don't worry. If you are and you're not up with React, get up with React, because all the plugins that you're going to program, all the themes and everything any custom coding is going to need some familiarity with React and also JSX. But if you've got React, then JSX is a small step up. All right. So why? Why are they doing this to us? Or rather, why are we doing this to us? So I had some difficulty trying to memorize this one, so I'm going to read. Thought long and hard about why exactly that we were doing it. And I came across a fantastic article that kind of gave some of it. It's the idea of the innovator's dilemma. So a small innovative company gets big and stops innovating to keep their customers happy. I mean, WordPress runs 30% of all websites on the internet. Eventually, some new, small, innovative company comes along and takes over their market share. Think about Blockbuster. I'm not sure if they're the same company in Australia and America, but this is specifically the American one. They had all the market share and could have easily started posting DVDs and streaming the way that Netflix did. But they weren't prepared to innovate, and now they virtually don't exist. They lost to Netflix, who, funny story, in 2000, Netflix CEO came to Blockbuster CEO and said, give us $50 million and you can have Netflix. The Blockbuster CEO obviously turned him down, and Netflix revenue last year was, I think, $3.6 billion. Revenue. The other one, obviously, everyone's familiar with Kodak and digital cameras. You get comfortable in the space, you don't innovate, someone comes along, does things better, changes the game, and you get left behind. So that's what's going on with WordPress right now. Nearly 30% of the websites on the internet run WordPress. So they've essentially become the Blockbuster of websites. But now new players are starting to make inroads. So you might have seen Wix, Medium, what are the others? Squarespace, Weebly, those sort of ones. But it's more than that. With Gutenberg, we're getting ahead of the curve for the next wave of technology. So we've got big data, artificial intelligence, VR, hyper-personalization, all that stuff is coming on almost here. And we as a WordPress community are adapting to position us for what is to come. And it is going to be a painful transition. There will be a lot more work for all of us to do, particularly this year, because this is all happening this year. Whether we like it or not, within the next month, maybe two, who knows. There's been huge strides made just in the last week. Massive problems that people had have now been solved just in the last week. So who knows? Maybe they're on track. Probably not. But give it a month, two at most, before all this comes down. It's going to be a lot of work for all of us. But with more work comes more opportunity to serve the community and all that good stuff. So why core? Why put it right into WordPress and not into the plugin? Well, that goes into the whole idea of innovating WordPress itself. This isn't just the editor. Right now, it's just the editor, but the next stage is the customizer, and then later the third stage, this editor, Gutenberg experience, is going to be rolled out on themes as well. So all your themes are going to be built using this React system. So that's not going to be happening until next year at some point. But the idea is to turn everything in WordPress into blocks. And the idea is to separate the content itself from the wrapper around it. So we've got a bit of that now, but not really. And Matt Mullenweg, the founder of WordPress, he spoke about how he keeps talking about WordPress as being WYSIWYG, as in what you see is what you get, but we all know it's not. There's page builders that do far better than WordPress, and I'm guessing a lot of us use these page builders, Beaver Builder, Elementor, and all that. Those aren't going away, but everything's changing, which is fun. it's also unifying the meta boxes, the shortcodes, the widgets, the menus, the custom post types. Everything is kind of going to be all like, there's been bits and pieces built on top of each other, duct taped together. With this new system, the idea is for them all to be unified. So there's been some concerns about the meta boxes. I don't know if you've come across meta boxes, but if you use a post, then usually at the bottom underneath the editor, there's a whole lot of extra information. So if you use an SEO plugin like Yoast, that information is stored there. That's a meta box. There's lots of other uses for them. But yeah, there was a point where they weren't going to let us have meta boxes, and Juice, the guy behind Yoast, said, we either have meta boxes or you don't get Yoast anymore. I'm shutting up shop. And so the Gutenberg core team went, okay, you can have meta boxes. So thanks, Yoast. All right, new features. I've said everything's a block and separates the content from the format. I'm getting ahead of myself, obviously. In my testing, there has been a speed increase of around 25%, which is always nice. That isn't a particularly comprehensive test. That was more with the current state and comparing the classic editor to the Gutenberg editor. It just ran 25% faster on Pingdom and GTmetrix. One of my favorite things is that you can now edit HTML on a single block. Instead, so say you had just a little bit of code that you wanted to put into your page, before you had to switch the whole thing to the HTML editor and either leave it like that, which is a terrible experience if you've got clients, you've got to tell them don't touch that page or lock them out from it, or you have to switch it back to the visual editor and hope it doesn't strip out your tags. Well, with this, you can just insert a HTML block and just write it in there. Or if you've already got the HTML block, you can, if you've already got it in a text block and you realize you need some code around it, simply click the button, converts it to a HTML block, and makes life a lot easier. I don't know whether maybe I'm the only one that does that, but I was quite excited about that. It also allows you to paste Markdown. So there's been a big focus on compatibility with pasting with other services. So, for example, Google Docs, if you copy and paste a Google Doc into it, it pastes perfectly. If you paste a Word document in, also pastes perfectly. They touted that as a big change, but went back into the classic editor, and that handled the Word doc fine, so I don't know what was going on with that. But it didn't handle the Markdown, and it didn't handle the Google Doc so well. So there's been a lot more focus on making things compatible with what else is out there that people are using. So if you've never used Markdown and you don't use Markdown, don't worry about it. If you do, this is a major time saver. It also has better HTML5 compatibility, which, point out, that feature there could actually break your theme, as in not break the theme, but break how it looks. If the theme is coded in like the CSS is done in a particular way. So keep an eye on that if you've got some custom coding, custom CSS or something on your design. Have a look through all your pages, because that might actually break things. Not break, but just look a bit weird. It has a new concept called shareable blocks, which is going to be great for the advertisers. So, as in the advertisers in the room. So you set up a block, and it can have particular text, maybe call to action, button, that sort of thing. And then once you set it to a shared block, shareable, I don't know, whatever, shared something. Once you edit it in one place, it updates everywhere else on the website that you've used that particular block. And it's really difficult for you to confuse the two when you're putting them in. It's pretty obvious that it's a shared block, but that's a handy feature that before we were having to do with shortcodes. advertising and stuff. So, and as I've said, ready for virtual reality. So there's a talk that I've linked to at the end of this presentation. Highly recommend going and seeing it. It talks more about the virtual reality and how people, they might want to put this particular, like the content here and have images over here when they're looking through their virtual reality goggles. That it goes into it far better than I can do justice to it, but that's something that is pretty cool that's coming. People at the moment, everyone is operating on a flat screen for the most part. You've got your laptop, you've got your tablet, you've got your phone, desktop. That's pretty much it. Like, it's all just a rectangular piece of glass. But what's coming and what is already here but is becoming more widely used is this breaking up into different spaces. Is not just a square or a rectangle. So that's going to be cool. Getting ahead of that. All right, so what did we break? And I say we because I'm talking all of us, because this is our plugin, whether we like it or not. So if the plugin that you're using makes changes to the TinyMCE editor, the default editor, it's broken. If it uses a meta box, well, I did the slides, that particular slide 2 days ago. Now it only sort of breaks some of them, but it doesn't break all of them. That's how rapidly this thing's changing. I'll get into that other thing in a second. Some page builders are broken at the moment. There is a workaround for them, but page builders that require you to go into to edit the page and then trigger it, which is all of them except Beaver Builder, you're gonna have to do a workaround to use the classical editor so that you can then trigger that page builder. So it's a good time to get off Visual Composer.
Happened a year ago.
Shortcodes inside a paragraph. Now you can only use shortcodes within a shortcode block, and from what I've seen, it will automatically force you into that block. So having text wrapping around a shortcode, if you're doing that, maybe for an image or something, that's going to be problematic. So there's a particular block, shortcode block, that you can put your shortcode in. If you're not using shortcodes, no worries, but they're used quite widely, so keep an eye on that.
With the recipe editor, is it going to sort of auto-format some of the content into blocks by default?
Automatically, yeah.
Big block?
Yeah, so the question was, is the new editor going to automatically format into blocks? And yes, it does. If you write, in a document or something, copy it and then paste it in, it automatically changes all those paragraphs into paragraph blocks. So there is some benefit. No, it's good, and it's improving rapidly as well. So many of the plugins are going to need updating. There was a service that was running. Is it going to be compatible with Gutenberg? I linked to it because it seems to everyone's using it, and so it's groaning under the weight and oftentimes isn't working. So of that, most of the plugins currently in the WordPress repository were not compatible. But that was mainly because of the meta boxes, so right now, who knows? But again, test it before you update, you'll be fine. You're also going to, if you're a developer, you're also going to need to upgrade your developer skills. Unless you're already familiar with React and JSX. Yeah, it's a big step up, for me at least. So, it's important to get involved. We as a WordPress community, that's all of us, we're all building this. So if you don't like something, now's the time to speak up before it rolls out into WordPress 5. People spoke up against a bunch of different things like meta boxes, and that got fixed. It's going to be a lot more difficult to get approval for these fixes once it's rolled out to all however many billions of websites, because once that huge leap forward has been taken, they're not going to want to mess around too much with it, or fixing things that we broke. So there's places that you can go to get involved with it, and I think that's on the next slide. If you don't have the time or skills to get involved, but you're like, I really hate this particular aspect, not the whole thing. If you hate the whole thing, sorry. But if you don't have the time or the skills to make the changes, just send me an email. You'll have all the slides. So have that. Resources. So top one, we've got this is where the code is actually living. So if you're familiar with GitHub, you know what to do. If not, go to the link. There's so much stuff there, it can be slightly overwhelming, but everything is there. And if you're familiar with how plugins work currently, and themes and all that, you're going to be in for a bit of a shock, because React is very different. There's also a handbook. This handbook is super helpful. Covers a whole lot of different stuff, and it's written in plain English so that mere mortals can understand. And then there's the State of the Word. That's one from WordPress Founder. This is State of the Word talk in 2017, where the WordPress Founder goes through his actual vision for WordPress. Really handy. Long-term vision is the one that I was talking about with the virtual reality and all that, from a VR expert. And there's actually a new theme that's been coded for Gutenberg, and it comes with a plugin that has some pretty cool example blocks that really extend it quite nicely. That's free, which is even better. So something to play around with. But make sure that you set up a new WordPress site, put on the plugin. It's most of the way there, so don't put it off for too much longer. Are there any initial questions? Otherwise, I'll jump into the quick demo of what it looks like. Yeah?
Do you know much about how much this change will impact advanced custom fields?
Advanced custom fields, I'm not sure. But what I've heard with the research, this was before they made the changes to the meta boxes, was that advanced custom fields is kind of going to need to innovate, shall we say. The ACF is one of the biggest outcries that people are like, but I need this. There's going to be ways of doing it, but it's going to make a massive change.
The content you already have on your website, how will it affect that content? Will that be changed over, or do you have to do something with that manually so that it complies with the box?
So one of the fantastic things that happened yesterday, or maybe the day before, now if you install the editor and switch it over, it automatically creates a classic editor block and puts all your content in there. So basically, it's safe. So that's a very helpful thing that someone has done. Someone's thought ahead. But then when you start editing from there, it starts to break it apart. Yeah.
Are there going to be any more plugs in the editor into effect?
Are plugins still going to be? Are there still going to be plugins?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. And plugins are the way to create new blocks or to edit the blocks that are already there. So plugins are going to be huge. They're just going to change quite dramatically.
I know the whole Metabox thing is still kind of new.
Yeah.
But have they got any clue as to how you would implement custom fields and post types and all of that fancy stuff?
The last word on that. And the question was, what's the deal with custom fields, custom post types, that sort of thing. The last word on the custom post types is that they're not going to touch it just yet, but that's next on the shooting range. So this is meant to replace custom post types. So whether they manage to successfully make it backwards compatible, I doubt. I think what's more likely is going to happen based on what I've been reading about it is that they're going to roll it out, not touch the custom post types initially, get everyone that that was meant to be in there on installing the Gutenberg editor with the 4.9.5, the one that was just updated. They scrapped that for whatever reason, because it's not ready. And so they'll probably nag you until you eventually give in and convert to a custom post type. But knowing a little bit of your situation, you're in trouble. Sorry. Membership sites are going to be fun.